The year is 675. A messenger arriving at the imperial capital from a distant Chinese province is struck speechless the moment he steps off his horse. Crown Prince Li Hong has been found dead right after a palace banquet. A young, healthy prince, loved by the people. No autopsy, no investigation. The official record is just 2 words: sudden illness. But the women of the palace have already started whispering. They say his own mother had it done. Can you imagine? No one knows who first said this sentence that spread from ear to ear. But whoever it was, before long, they were either sent into exile or never heard from again. Because in those days, speaking out loud about Wu Zetian meant writing your own fate with your own hands. Welcome back to Historical Gossip, friends. If you've topped up your tea or coffee, sit back and relax, because we're heading right back into the middle of the darkest, cruelest, and most unbelievable power struggle in Chinese history. Last episode, we watched how Wu Zetian went from an ordinary concubine to sitting on the Empress's throne. But the real story begins right here. Because Wu Zetian never just wanted to be the emperor's wife. She wanted to be the emperor herself. Here we go! Picture a huge throne room in your mind. Gold-embroidered columns, the smell of incense, and Emperor Gaozong sitting on the throne. But just behind the throne hangs a thin silk curtain. And behind that curtain, there's a shadow. A shadow whispering every decree, every decision that comes out of the emperor's mouth. Wu Zetian. She had become empress, sure, but the old aristocrats in the palace still saw her as that former concubine. And at their head was a very powerful name, Gaozong's own maternal uncle, Zhangsun Wuji. His influence was so great that some historians refer to him as the second emperor. And this man hated Wu Zetian. Now, if you've been following this story, you already know Wu. She never rushed. Wu didn't attack head-on. She did what she always did. She waited. She waited for the other side to make a mistake, then blew that mistake up and turned it into a deadly weapon. Accusations of treason were thrown at Zhangsun Wuji. Whether the evidence was real is still debated today. But everyone judging the case was under Wu's influence. The verdict had already been decided. The most powerful man in the palace was first stripped of his post, then sent into exile, and finally forced to take his own life. The same fate was shared by Chu Sui-liang, the chancellor who had opposed Wu for years. Here, we need to notice something very subtle. Wu Zetian wasn't taking revenge. She was removing obstacles. Revenge is emotional. Removing obstacles is pure calculation. That's what set her apart from other rulers. She made her decisions not with anger, but with cold-blooded math. Because power doesn't always kill you right away. First, it leaves you alone. Then, the rest takes care of itself. Right as this purge was going on, fate handed Wu a new opportunity. Gaozong's health failed. Severe headaches, loss of vision, fainting spells. The emperor could no longer handle state affairs for days at a time. Now, most people would call that a disaster. Wu Zetian? She called it an opportunity. What would have been a disaster for most people, Wu turned into a massive opportunity. The years that the palace records call the Two Sages era began. On paper, the emperor and empress ruled together. On paper. But it was obvious who was pulling the strings behind the curtain. Because power isn't seized overnight. Every day, a small piece of it is quietly taken. First, she sat in on the meetings. Then she started reading the petitions. And before long, ministers began asking for her opinion directly before they could even reach the emperor. And by the time people noticed the change, it was already too late. Her boldest move came in 666, that sacred ceremony on Mount Tai. A rite that for thousands of years only male emperors could perform, believed to forge a bond with the heavens. Wu Zetian took part in this ceremony in person. And at the very front, right at the center of the rituals. Into the heart of male-dominated China, she landed a steel fist inside a silk glove. I am the heaven-approved leader of this country. That day, the people started whispering. This woman was no ordinary person. Friends, now we come to the most controversial, most heartbreaking part of the story. Wu and Gaozong's eldest son, the legal heir to the throne, was Crown Prince Li Hong. Unlike his mother, he was a merciful, honest young man, loved by the people. But one day, he took pity on the daughters of Consort Xiao, the old rival his mother had brutally eliminated years earlier. Girls left forgotten in the palace. He asked that they be treated humanely. In Wu's eyes, this innocent request was open defiance. In the year 675, right after a palace banquet, Li Hong suddenly died. The official record said illness. But a single sentence was already going around the palace corridors. His own mother poisoned him. Can you imagine the whispers? Nobody dared say it out loud, but everyone was thinking it. In his place, the second son, Li Xian, became crown prince. He was a clever prince, well-connected, and fully aware of just how dangerous his mother was, which was probably the worst thing he could have done. And that was exactly the problem. Before long, serious accusations came up against him. It was said he was hiding weapons in his palace and planning to seize the throne. Convenient, wasn't it? In 684, he was removed from his position as crown prince, sent into exile, and there forced to take his own life. 2 crown princes, both wiped from the stage the moment they got in their mother's way. Gossip alarm! Let's stop here and talk about this openly. Did Wu Zetian really have her own children killed? Or were her sons truly betraying the dynasty? Honestly, no one knows the definite answer today, because most of the sources we have came from the hands of historians who wrote after Wu died, and who hated her rule at that. So we need to approach every claim with caution. But there's one fact: these deaths benefited Wu more than anyone. Even today, historians are split in two. Some say Wu was cold-blooded. She cleared away anyone in her path. Others say the sons really were in revolt. She was just protecting the dynasty. My take is this: Wu Zetian was a woman who could sacrifice even her own baby for power. But still, a person sacrificing their own son makes your blood run cold. The politics of that era were brutal, I know. The rule there was simple: it's you or them. In 683, Emperor Gaozong died. The man who had ruled China for 30 years was gone. His son Zongzong took the throne. And you might think, finally, it's his turn. But when he stood up to his mother's authority and tried to bring his own wife's family into the government, Wu didn't wait at all. She removed the mighty emperor of China just 6 weeks after he took the throne. 6 weeks. That's all. Longest promotion, shortest reign. In his place, she put her other, more docile son, Ruzong. But Ruzong was emperor in appearance only. The seals, the armies, the decisions were all in Wu's hands. The curtain had now lifted completely. And this is where the palace became truly terrifying. In this period, fear reached its peak. Wu built a huge secret police network with men infamous for their cruelty, like Suo Yuanli, Zhou Xing, and Lai Jinchen. She placed report boxes all over the city. Think about that. People began secretly informing on one another. An official on his coworker, a commander on his own soldier. Because everyone knew, if there was a knock at your door one morning, you might not come back. These men extracted confessions through torture, and sometimes they even prepared the punishment first and then looked for the guilty party. Because fear sometimes works more effectively than 10,000 soldiers. It was as if Wu had discovered this centuries ahead of her time. But Wu didn't just want you to fear her. She wanted you to believe in her. She had loyal Buddhist monks write a sacred text called the Great Cloud Sutra. According to the text, the Maitreya Buddha, who would bring peace to the earth, would be reborn in the body of a woman. Guess who that woman was? Wu herself, of course. Convenient, wasn't it? From now on, opposing her meant rebelling not just against the state, but against the heavens. And finally, that moment came. The year is 690. Wu Zetian declared that she was ending the roughly 300-year-old Tang Dynasty and founded her own Zhou Dynasty. Can you imagine that? 300 years just over. Everyone assumed she would use the title of Empress, because that title meant the emperor's wife, and she didn't want to be remembered as anyone's wife. She gave herself the title of male rulers directly, that is, the title of emperor. Not empress, emperor. Can you believe that? In 4,000 years of Chinese history, she became the first and only woman to pull this off and sit on that throne alone. Wu Zetian was now at the peak. She was now the sole and undisputed ruler of that enormous palace she had stepped into as a timid concubine at the age of 14. But the peaks are always windy, my friends. The prices you pay to take the throne come back to you one by one as you grow older. Some saw her as a ruthless tyrant. Others saw her as a genius who achieved the impossible in a male-dominated world. Maybe the truth was somewhere right in the middle. Because history sometimes writes the same person as both a hero and a monster. But here comes the part that absolutely shocked me. And the strange thing is, Wu Zetian's biggest scandal was neither her sons nor the regime of fear she built. Oh no, not even close. In the last years of her life, she would go through something that would have the entire palace whispering behind her back. An aging emperor, 2 handsome brothers, decades younger than her, and one of the biggest palace scandals in Chinese history. Trust me, you do not want to miss that one. We'll talk about all of this, Wu's dizzying downfall, in the 3rd and final episode. Here at Historical Gossip, the palace gossip pot is still bubbling away. So to make sure you don't miss the final act of this magnificent story, don't forget to like the video,
Your
subscribe
Majesty,
to the
please
channel,
forgive me. Due to severe
and
budget
turn
cuts,
on
this
notifications.
is the only throne we could build.
Guards,
See
bring us
you
an
in
absolute
the
disgrace.
final episode.
Remove this fool from my
Take
sight
very good
instantly.
care of
No,
yourselves.
please, for Majesty, have mercy.